Hello and welcome to Yesterday's Airlines. In 2025, there are more brands and manufacturers than there have ever been before making 1/400 scale model airliners. There's always been brands coming and going, leaving and joining the hobby, but over the last 4 or 5 years, the brand proliferation has been quite amazing. There are new brands appearing every couple of months, and a lot of these brands are producing really interesting models that have never been made before. However, because there are so many models being released, it can be really hard to know who's making them, where you can buy them, and even what models exist. I thought that I would start taking a look at the different brands that exist in 400 scale to give you the information that you need to understand who is making models in 2025 and what models are available on the market. So in what I hope to be a new video series, I'm going to do just that. I'm going to pick an individual brand and look through who they are, what they're making, how often they're releasing, what molds they're using, and whether they're really just any good or not. So hopefully you'll be seeing more of this kind of video on the site in the near future, and it will help you to understand what's going on in 400 scale. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the brand Aero Polaris. Aero Polaris is one of the newer brands which has appeared over the past year and is already pumping out quite a few models which are increasingly available in the Western market. So Aero Polaris is our brand for today. Before we get to look at them, please don't forget to chuck a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That's always much appreciated. Also, don't forget to take a look at my sponsor's website, Northeast Diecast. Northeast Diecast has an amazing range of largely second-hand models, often incredibly rare 400 scale and 200 scale models at a wide range of prices, and that's a great place to pick up a really cool model that you perhaps been looking for a long time and never been able to find. And you can get 15% off from Northeast Diecast when you use the code Yesterday's Airlines 15. So to get 15% off your order at Northeast Diecast, don't forget to use that code Yesterday's Airlines 15. Get over there and have a look at the great stuff on the site. But now let's get on and check out what we know about Aero Polaris. So who are Aero Polaris? Well, the name first appeared in early 2024 after the brand HYJL Wings had announced that they were going to stop producing models. Their Instagram account and the company, as far as I know, was sold to new owners who rebranded as Aero Polaris and appeared to be starting a completely new organization. Subsequently, HYJL Wings seems like it's re-emerged, so it's a little more complicated, but fundamentally, in early 2024, Aero Polaris announced their name, and it wasn't until August time that much more was heard from them when they started talking on WeChat about the announcement of a new Airbus A350 mold. Now, initially, the renders were clearly fake, like this image, and appear to be perhaps AI generated. In fact, that is something Aero Polaris did quite a bit in the early days, create AI generated images, and it did make me question whether they were a real brand or not. But by October, they were showing some images of the Airbus A350 mold in preparation and apologizing that it was taking them so long to get it built, but it was difficult and testing their skills and so on. They also, in October, announced that they would be announcing their very first models on October 19th. And these would not be A350s, but would actually be Boeing 737-800s. So that took everyone, I think, a little bit by surprise. So, in essence, Aero Polaris are a new brand that sprung out of HYJL Wings in 2024, announcing all new molds and coming out of China. So how often do Aero Polaris release? Well, initially, as you'd expect for a new brand, releases are quite slow, but things seem to be ramping up, and they've now announced or released over 20 different models. The first releases came out, or hit the market, shall I say, in November, and they were followed by further releases in March, April, and now June this year. So their releases do seem to be ramping up in terms of the number and in terms of the different aircraft types as well. It should also be pointed out that with Aero Polaris, when you buy the model, what you're getting is a model which is actually substantially cheaper than other premium brands, but with quite a premium feel to it, because the box has a nice flip top lid, albeit Velcro rather than magnetic, and it also comes with a collector's card, and as with older HYGL releases, it comes with a cardboard area of apron as well. So the models themselves have quite a nice feel to them and do feel quite exclusive, even though the price is pretty reasonable for 400 scale. So what models do Aero Polaris make? Well, unlike a lot of Chinese brands, they are not focused entirely on the domestic market and have been producing a reasonably good range of airliners from outside China as well. There obviously are plenty of Chinese airliners too, like this Greater Bay Airlines, but you also got a Singapore Airlines, a TUI, a Eurowings, and a WestJet in the first batch of 737s they announced, plus the obligatory Air China too. So you can see that the spread of releases is a little bit better than a lot of the brands which focus very much on Chinese models. When they came to announce their first Airbus A350s, once again there was a split. There's a China Eastern, but there's also an Air France A350 as well. There have only been the two Air 350s announced so far, but there have been quite a lot more 737s, and as you can see looking through the list here, you've got airlines like Jeju Air and other foreign airlines like KLM, as well as Chinese airlines like Shenzhen, Shanghai. So you could just as likely to get a Qantas or TUI flight as you are a Supana Airlines, as you can see here. So that's quite impressive for a young Chinese brand. They usually focus on Chinese airliners, but Aero Polaris have not necessarily done that entirely. So what molds do Aero Polaris own and use? Now, Aero Polaris have said that they have created their own brand new molds for both their Boeing 737 and their Airbus A350, and technically this is true. However, when you look at the Boeing 737s, you can't help but feel they look very, very similar to the NG model 737-800. In fact, unless you really know what you're looking for, the molds are effectively the same. That's not necessarily a bad thing, by the way. One of the giveaways that this is a variant of the NG mold is the fact that there's no stand hole on the underside of the fuselage of the 737. And I have to say, I don't think NG models are particularly impressed by this kind of cloning of their mold. It's kind of similar also when you get to look at their Airbus A350s. Now, they've only released a couple of these so far, but the A350 mold also, it's their own mold, but it shares a lot of similarities to the Panda Models Airbus A350. And that's, again, not a bad thing at all, because that is a really good A350 mold. So the long and the short of it is that technically Aero Polaris have their own 737 and A350-900 molds, but they're both very similar to the NG Model 737 and the Panda Models A350. So the next question is, are Aero Polaris models good? Now, I've already said that their 737 looks very much like the NG mold and their A350 looks like the Panda mold. So that kind of suggests that the quality is there. I've been able to acquire 3 out of the 737 so far and an A350, and I reviewed the Greater Bay Airlines model at the website, so check that out if you haven't seen it already. I've also reviewed one of the A350s at the website too, so again, check out that detailed review if you haven't seen it already. But in general, I would say that these molds are right at the top of the quality level in 400 scale. Both of them are really excellent representations of the aircraft, and not only that, but the printing and the quality control that I'm seeing on these models is, again, as good as anybody else's in the scale. So I don't really see any issues at all with the Aero Polaris models that are being produced from a quality perspective. They're really, really good, high quality models. Plus, of course, they come with a very nice set of packaging with the flip top box and the little bits extras, the collector's card and the runway section. So broadly, if you're buying Aero Polaris models, I think you can be assured you're going to get a good quality product. So, to summarise, Aero Polaris is a new Chinese brand which is producing quite a diverse range of models, not just Chinese airliners, 737s and Airbus A350s. They've also talked about having a 777 mould coming up soon and a new concept called Aero Polaris Essentials. I'll talk about that another time perhaps. But overall, the models are really good, they're really high quality, they're very competitively priced, and they are available outside of China. Now, so far, I have bought all of my 4 Aero Polaris models through Taobao, but I know that they are being now sold within the United States, the UK, and within Asia too. So it is possible to be able to get these models outside of China, which is really important. And it does seem like Aero Polaris have got plans to really expand in this year. So I think they're definitely a brand to watch out for, producing some really nice models. I hope you've enjoyed this video and it's given you a little bit of an insight into Aero Polaris. I hope to be doing more of these videos, so keep an eye out for those and we'll explore other 400 scale brands that you may not have heard of. But that's it for now from Yesterday's Airlines. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.